Welcome to Chicago Sun-Times Newsroom. This is a little off-message extra. Joining me is Fran Spielman. So, let's launch into what's going on this week with the mayoral race. Why aren't we seeing more top-tier candidates? Who are the possibilities, and why aren't they running?
Well, it's really amazing. You have an incumbent mayor, a first-term mayor, who has poll numbers in his own numbers in the 30s, terribly vulnerable, and yet we do not see people jumping up to challenge him. You have an angry black community that's furious about the school closings, the charter openings, the crime, etc., and school additions that are on the north side, and yet nobody is stepping up. Why? Well, first of all, the black politicians who might capitalize, you've got two older congressmen who've taken their turn in the spotlight. Right. Bobby Rush and Danny Davis were sacrificial lambs against Rich Daley, and they lost, and they're older now. Right. And then you have the younger generation, like Kwame Raoul, who says, not me, I'm staying with the state. He wanted to run for AG and then governor and didn't do that. So that's where he's hitched his star. And then you have the natural Jesse Jackson Jr. in prison. He would have been the natural, but who's left, really? You've got Robin Kelly, who's an up-and-comer, but she doesn't live in the city. Right. Will Burns has hitched his star with Rahm Emanuel.
Is it amazing to you that we don't have more of a, viable Hispanic candidate?
The natural would have been Luis Gutierrez, and he was a Rahm adversary, if you remember. He's the immigration reform national champion, blamed Rahm Emanuel for standing in the schoolhouse door when he was White House Chief of Staff, and yet has made his peace with Rahm Emanuel to the point where he is going to co-chair Rahm Emanuel's campaign for re-election.
And is that our only
possibility?
Gary
Chico would have been a natural. He ran a very strong and spirited race against Rahm Emanuel, got about 29% of the vote, but he has a law business. And if you put yourself out there and you risk that, what happens?
And what about the Lisa Madigans of the world?
Lisa Madigan is like the girl who cried wolf. She flirted with running for governor. She raised $4 million and then said, oh, but I can't serve as governor when my father is speaker. Well, didn't she know that before? And so her credibility is kind of shot, and she's not considering it either. Mm-hmm. She has the money to rival Rahm Emanuel. Ed Burke has the money to rival Rahm Emanuel. He has 3 funds. He's controlling about $5 million, but he's 70 years old. He's recovering from prostate cancer surgery. He also has made his peace with Rahm Emanuel, retained as finance committee chairman. Everybody has either been co-opted, or they're scared off, or he has too much money.
What's the likelihood of Rahm not having a challenger?
A top-tier challenger. Bob Fioretti probably will run. I don't consider him a top-tier candidate. Do you? He really doesn't have citywide name recognition. He has no money.
Well, even, in our own poll, Rahm beat him in that, but then you have Karen Lewis, who's
Karen Lewis has a shot. But again, think about this. A mayor who's that vulnerable, having a union president who has taken him on in other avenues but who's never run for office, who has kind of a narrow base and a more narrow appeal, that's the only really major challenger. It's amazing, really.
But isn't she viewed as being able to excite a broader base of people? And
true. City Hall is worried about a divisive race, and a race that would be detrimental to the city even if Rahm Emanuel wins it. If it's portrayed as Mayor 1% over here and a racial battle, then the city loses, even if he wins.
What's the likelihood that Karen Lewis will run and wants to run?
Well, I'm not sure she will. A lot of people in the labor movement are not sure she will. Mm-hmm. Perhaps she is. I think she got into the talk of it to push Toni Preckwinkle, and it did not work. Mm-hmm. And so now she's out there. She's kind of out there.
See, I never bought that. I think she was out there for her.
You think she's out there for herself?
I think she had I think she knew or had a feeling that Preckwinkle was just not going to go through with it and was just seeing this very thing play out.
Well,
if it's not Toni, no one else is stepping up.
But the problem that she has is, how do you negotiate a teacher's contract with the man you're challenging? How does that work? Does she step out? And what about that?
Well, those are certainly issues she's going to have to answer.
But that is a problem for her, and so she's willing to risk the rank and file of the teachers union, and their benefit and their good, what they need versus her own politics. That's the problem that I see. I wouldn't be shocked if she came back from Hawaii, her vacation, and said, I'm not going to do it.
Well, that remains to be seen. Thank you for joining us for this extra edition of Off Message, and we'll see you next week.